You are listening to CraftCast, the podcast, where soul meets craft. All right, everyone. I am so excited today that the founder, publisher, and she'll tell us all the different titles she has for this, and editor of the wonderful, wonderful magazine, Uppercase, Janine Vangool, is coming on to talk to us today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
It's so exciting to have you here. And as I was just saying before we started recording, you don't have time to sleep to produce a magazine with that much detail and beauty. I can't even imagine the amount of hours. But let's go back to the beginning. How did you start and get involved doing Uppercase?
Well, hi, Allison. Hi, Patrick, and thanks for inviting me. So how did I get started? I'll go way, way back in time to when I was a kid. And I used to make little tiny booklets and magazines, like super tiny, just a few inches. And I would gather paper from my parents because my mom was an executive secretary and my dad was a drafts person. So they brought home the extra paper. And so one side of the paper would have like typewriting or drawings, drafting drawings on them. And I would just cut these things up and staple them together and then make little booklets and magazines. So I was a publisher from a very young age, and I made little craft books about how to make books, which was very, very meta. And I made
I love that.
I had a little periodical magazine, and I called it Crafts, and then I put a little TM next to the word crafts. And that came out. I had 3 issues of that once a month for a very brief period of time. So that was my earliest publishing, and that was probably when I was like maybe 10.
Did you have subscribers? I mean, kids around the block.
I made my family take out little books from. I had a little cardboard box that I had covered in wrapping paper, and that was my traveling library. So when we'd go to my grandparents for a family dinner or birthday or something, and I would bring that with me and then make people sign out my books.
We could have been best friends.
That.
Yeah, you're the kind of friend I would have loved to have been friends with. It's like passionate about something like that. I used to take the crafting books out of the library at 10. All those learn to make,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like definitely there. Okay, so then did you go to art school?
I did. So in high school, I was the yearbook editor and super nerd. And so I learned a lot through that experience. And that was, I guess there was a Mac computer. It was the earliest days of the Mac computer. And all that computer could do for us anyway was we could print out headlines and we could print out long strips of text and then cut and paste it. And so there was a wax paste up in the graphic arts room, and we would wax it up and cut it up, and it was all laid out by hand. And I remember the font technology was so terrible that everything was bitmapped. So every single headline, I redrew around the edge to smooth it out. So it was very hands-on. So then I went to art college, and I was in the visual communications program. So at the time, that was like half about illustration, half about graphic design. But I knew that I wanted to be on the design side of things, but it was useful to also, learn about illustration, and I have design and drawing skills, both of them. So did that for my 4-year diploma. And then, I graduated. That was at the Alberta College of Art, as it was called back then, here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Okay.
And I graduated in 1995. So that was like right when desktop publishing was the way to do things. It was all new. Everyone was talking about it. And so I bought my first computer, Power Mac 7100.
Wow. I get it. When I went to design school, I was on the cusp. So our class had to learn both the traditional way to do things with paste ups and, learning to communicate with the copywriter and learning to communicate, with the people who are all just putting it all together. And then we also had to learn the Mac, and all of that had to go with that. So yeah, I feel you. I get it.
Yeah.
It was the days of Quark.
Yes, Work Express. Yeah.
And you mentioned waxers during the very beginning, and it's like, so tell our listeners, what exactly is a waxer?
Right.
Well, if you don't want to glue, it could be permanent. So a paper waxer is a machine that it has like rollers, and underneath there's like melted wax. So it's got a bit of heat to it, and you would roll your paper through and it would apply wax to one side of your paper, the side without your art on it. And then you could cut and paste and reposition your wax paste up that way. At least that's how I recall it. So I learned how to do that in high school. And then my summer jobs after high school was working in darkroom. So I worked at Process Cameras, and I was a negative stripper, which everyone thought, well, what is that? Like, that was actually just cutting film and putting it together and doing the pre-press work and making plates and doing all of that. So it was actually very valuable to have that hands-on experience.
Absolutely.
And to be in a press room and in the dark room and know what was going on, so that when I graduated from college and I started my freelance business pretty much right out of college, I had that foundation so that the old men in the press shop couldn't pull one over on me because I knew what was going on.
That's so
And
perfect.
It usually was a bunch of crotchety old guys, right?
Yes. Old men back then, yeah.
Well, they were all unionized.
Yeah.
I don't think so in Canada, but
okay. It was a trade skill here in the United States, so it was,
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's down memory lane. But we did get good with an X-Acto blade.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. I think all those skills are so important, though. I mean, you speak about this foundation that you have, and along the way, you've been refining your eye and looking at things in a certain way. And then when it gets transferred over to the digital world, there's so much more information behind the choices that you make. Instead of the classic thing is you talk to person in design school or at the beginning, and why did you use that font? And they're like, oh, because it was in my computer. Wrong. That is the wrong answer. So
everything you just said makes sense why your magazine looks the way it does. All right, so now you've done art school. Now how do you get from there to Uppercase?
Well, so out of college, I did have like a so-called real job for about 9 months, and that was with another really old man who was he was really, in retrospect, he was the ideal first boss because it was a terrible situation and I was very unhappy, and it was a sexist situation there, and I didn't want to stay there, but I spoke up for myself a few times, and I'm a short-statured, introverted, quiet person, so it was a really big deal for me to stand up for myself in this
applause,
right? But I did it, and I was so glad I did. And he had referred to me as little girl, and
gosh,
that was the last straw. And so I put him in his place, and he apologized, and then he gave me a raise. And then he would slip back into the old ways, and then I would remind him I got another raise, and I doubled my salary in 9 months, and then I left.
Brilliant.
And I never had a boss ever since then, other than working for clients. So I did start my freelance graphic design business at that point, and work with some really lovely people in arts and culture here in my Calgary town. So I worked with like the Calgary International Children's Festival was my very first client, and WordFest, which was a festival of writers, and then an arts festival, and then theater and Calgary Opera. And so I built up a really lovely freelance design business with arts and culture clients. And I did design books for various Canadian small presses, and there was a magazine called Beyond Magazine, which was a youth-oriented magazine, and I designed some of that for a few years. So that's what I was doing for about 12 years, and it was fine. It was like really fulfilling for many years, and then I was getting a little bit bored, so I opened a studio / retail / gallery space in downtown Calgary. It was a building called Art Central, And the concept there was it would be artist studios through 3 levels, and there was a cafe and a restaurant, and it would be like a hub for people to come and see the arts and participate and
Sounds
see
like
what
a dream
artists
so
do.
far.
Yeah,
It
really.
was beautiful. It's awesome. And I found out about that through one of my design projects about this thing that was opening up, and I want to be part of that. So I rented a space, and up until then I had been freelancing just out of, a room off my kitchen. So I had an actual empty shell because it was newly renovated building, and so I could design it. And so part of the mandate of that building was to have a public facing aspect. So the front of the space was a gallery. The back was my like design office, my computer and stuff. And I had a really beautiful bookshelf with other people's publications. And then I also sold like paper goods and stationery and stuff. And I designed my own greeting cards to put there because it was a kind of a touristy destination. And the gallery shows were just curated from a graphic design, illustration, commercial art kind of standpoint. So I had thematic shows and learned how to curate, how to hang stuff up on the wall and do all these themes. And so I did that for a few years. And it was called Uppercase Gallery Books and Paper Goods.
Okay.
So
The beginning.
that's where the Uppercase began, and that was in 2005. And so there was a time when blogging was a big thing, and Flickr, and this the start of social media.
Flickr.
Yeah, and so I would curate the shows not only locally but through people who were connected through my blog at the time, and so I learned a lot about communicating over internet through email.
Wait, was your blog called Uppercase?
It was like on my website. It was just Uppercase, yeah. And curating shows, physical shows, and bringing the artwork in from all over the place, and then selling it online as well as in person. So that was the start of kind of this curatorial aspect of my career. And that was really fun for a few years.
Yeah.
So much work, like the physical amount of work, that was a lot. And then having a public space and being an introvert was a lot. But I did it, and I'm really glad that I did. But after a few years, the concept of this downtown kind of hub was it was a struggle financially for a lot of my neighbors because they didn't have their other backup, which like I was supporting it through my graphic design skills, not necessarily the sales in the gallery. And then I was looking at wanting to start a family. So I wanted to explore my first love in graphic design has always been books. So I published a few books based on exhibitions that I had hosted in the gallery, and those did fairly well. And there was like people from all over the world who wanted those books. So I thought there was something there, and I decided to launch a magazine.
Sure.
Wow. Well, you just decided.
It's something I always wanted to do, is to publish my own things and to be in charge of my own content. Because by then I'd been working with clients for a long time, and it was getting tiresome to have to work with other people's ideas and other people's intentions, and it's their thing, and they have ownership, and I'm at their beck and call and all that stuff.
This is the question that I was going to ask you. I was going to say, how did it feel? Because I was a graphic designer in the past as well, and you spend your time helping other people realize their vision, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're doing it for yourself. So tell us, how did that feel?
That feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels great. A lot of graphic design for clients is like just negotiating other people's moods and convincing them about what they should be doing when you know what the right course might be, and you just have to convince them, and that gets exhausting. So I just wanted to do my own thing.
Well, how long from when you had that concept to that first issue being published?
About 4 or 5 months, I think. Like when I committed,
I applaud you again.
The first issue out. Yeah.
And how long has the magazine been made? When did that start?
2009 in April. That was the first issue.
Okay.
So,
I probably have the first issue, or at least the second one. I know I got on board pretty fast.
Well, it was a rare thing, so you should keep it.
Okay.
Because there is
I'll
a
have to
smaller
look.
print run at the beginning. So I just decided I wanted to launch the magazine because I wanted, first of all, I love magazines as a concept, as a way of having some continuity, but the chance to be creative with each new issue. And if you think back to 2008, 2009, a lot of really great magazines were going under, like the magazines that I enjoyed. And I remember at the time there was like Martha Stewart had I think it was called Blueprint magazine, and it was
Martha?
it was just for a short period of time, and it was a kind of a home lifestyle magazine, but for younger people, and it had lots of really great design in it, and the design of the magazine at the time was just gorgeous. But that went under, and then I also used to read Domino magazine in its very first iteration. I love that. That disappeared for a while. So in my naivete, I decided, well, all these really great magazines that I love are going under, so I better make a magazine.
Right.
That's the spirit.
The exact opposite of whatever might have been good business sense. I thought, I want a magazine to read, so I guess I better make my own.
Well, I mean, I was a magazine junkie my whole life. I mean, I would wait at the newsstand when I knew it was the day they made a delivery for a monthly of something. And, all of them, to me, that was just, I don't even know what to call it. So I did work in magazines as well, but waiting for that magazine to come. And then I had in my apartment in Los Angeles a closet dedicated to just all my magazines. I didn't want to throw them away because we used them to get re-inspired and blah, 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 blah. So yours is the only one I have now, just so you know.
Well, you can't throw them out,
No.
And then when you're trying to get more room, then of course you cut them up and you put them in what's called the morgue, right?
Sure.
It's like, I like this photo. I'm going to keep that photo.
Yeah.
It's such a great resource.
It is.
To have that in print, and nobody.
Yes. Do you think that I mean, I do get magazines online, digital, my gardening magazines, etc. But I think magazines could make a comeback, just like book reading and holding the books is making a comeback, that people need something that's not digital for a change. What do you think?
Well, I've been told that print is dead for the entire length
I know.
I've been publishing. And when I first launched the magazine, that was the early days of the iPad as well. And so a lot of mainstream magazine publishers, I can think of again, Martha Stewart Living magazine and Wired magazine, they were investing a lot in doing these iPad digital versions, and they would have video and animated covers.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were super cool, but everyone was saying, "Oh, Janine, you need to do a digital magazine," and like, there's no way I wanted to do that. Like, I want to print on paper. I want something that I finish it and it's done. It doesn't have to move and be animated and doesn't have to be updated. Like, it's just, it's just done. It's finished and here you go. So I resisted the digital stuff right from the very beginning. And this is a print magazine. And so I was very stubborn about that. And also the magazine, the first few issues did have ads in it, but mostly like, the college that I went to, the art college had an ad, and I tried to sell ads for a few issues, and that was kind of a waste of time. And so I happily dropped that. And so it's been ads free for the majority of the time. And it just runs on my creativity and in the support of its readership. So
that's great.
That's why I was able to do it, because I guess I had noticed that, like, if Martha Stewart can't make a magazine, why can't she? And at the time it was because of ad sales, and they weren't getting their ad sales, and so instead of nurturing a relationship with their avid readers, they just decided to throw in the towel on some of these publications. So I went the opposite route, and I have a really lovely relationship with my readers. It's like, if you want to talk to me, I'm like right here literally for you. So that's been kind of the secret of its longevity, I think.
Oh yeah.
Taking a step back, you're talking about the first issue. What kind of articles were in the first issue, and how are those different from from today's version?
It's very different because I'm a different person because I started the magazine when I was in my 30s and now I'm in my early 50s. So that's a difference. But also the first issue was more juvenile in that its target readership was younger. And I thought that it would be more for people who are like just coming into creativity, like, like myself, maybe a few years younger, who are in graphic design and illustration as their career, and they were looking for something that supported and boosted and was also like tangential to graphic design and illustration, because I've always been inspired by things that are outside of design and illustration, because I think that informs me in a more broader sense, and I can look at someone's textile and go, wow, that's amazing, and maybe it inspires me somehow in my graphic design. Like that's how it started anyway. But it turned out that was not my ideal audience anyway. It was more people who have like a broader interest in creativity, and they might be graphic designers, but they have that like multi-interest kind of approach to creativity. And I've always loved craft, and so I started exploring that more. So long-winded answer, but so the first few issues are definitely more graphic designerly, illustrator, typography kind of stuff, and more craft and general creativity and hands-on, tactile type making that's become the main focus of
That
the
makes
magazine.
sense.
Yeah. And
Because
the first issues there were various other contributors who had other interests. So like there was film and audio visual and type stuff like that in the very first issues, which I quickly dropped and just to focus on my area of expertise.
well, but you cover so many wonderful artists and ideas. I mean, it's an idea boxed open just for your brain when the first page, and it's like I can see it all in there. It's so inspiring. For
Well, there's so much overlap too, between the arts world and the crafts world, and
right, yeah,
graphic design and fashion design. There's all these
right.
basic principles that drive everything. And and you mentioned Martha Stewart, and I think she was one of the people I think that really brought design to the forefront in terms of really discussing it for the average person. And usually it wouldn't be part of the discussion, but Martha brought it all to us. So thank you,
Well,
Martha, if you're out there listening.
Yeah.
but it evolved because was I talking to you, Patrick, about there's a celebration for her first book, Entertaining.
Oh,
It's
right.
republished or something like that. And my son told me he'd seen it in the house forever growing up. And, the original one's selling for a lot more money, but bringing that back. Now, when I looked through it, I pulled mine out and looked through it. The photographs in there were terrible compared to what we do now, but we thought that was fantastic back then.
Yeah, because we had never seen it before.
We never
right?
seen even that. And so, then to go and get all the designers she had and the photography and up that look. So we're all designing in a Martha type of way for things was also interesting to me. All in New York City, all the editors and stylists and all of the above. But we've come a long way with what things we considered looking good.
Yeah. And Uppercase has never been a magazine that has the budget of to do any like fancy stuff. Like
Okay,
the
you wouldn't know
majority
that
the
looking at it.
majority of the images are done by the artists themselves or a friend of theirs who's a photographer, in their earlier issues in particular. And so it's always been kind of scrappy in that way, in that I rely on the talents of mostly the artists themselves, and the contributors. And so that requires, working with the right people who are multi-talented, right? And also who have like an aesthetic sensibility where you know that you're going to get quality images to work with. And so that's been very early on in the magazine's history that's been really important. And it took a few years, but then I've always since then I pay my commissioned artists, and if there's commissioned photography, they're paid and all of that. So, but to say I don't have the budget um, to do like lifestyle shoots and things like that. Like anything that you can think of Martha Stewart and all the lavish photography. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's amazing. But I can't do that as a one person show and commissioning other people. So
I'm here to say,
right?
You wouldn't know. Your magazine's beautiful, so you wouldn't know any of that. So forget that.
Well, and it's more authentic too. There's a definite authenticity about it that, when something is all styled and everything, it's one thing, but to have it from the artists and from the actual people who are closely involved with it, it's just much more meaningful.
Yeah. And I don't want people to clean up their studios before they take pictures of it. I just want to see how they actually create. I prefer that. Like the mess is more.
Oh, and we tend to have, don't look behind me. I'll cover that. It's organized chaos, I always say, with artists. It's, it helps you just feel inspired and all that type of thing. I love that. Oh my gosh. Now, what's your go-to place for inspiration? Because your books and your magazines have themes. Are you lying in bed at night and all of a sudden it comes to you and you have to write it down to remember?
No, you've like suggested that I don't sleep a couple of times, but
Correct.
actually
That's true.
I do. I go to bed at a regular time every night and I go to sleep.
Okay. All right.
And I wake up the next morning. So I'm grateful that I don't have insomnia or something. And I don't work at all hours because I would be burned out. So, I've never had like all-nighters when it comes to the Uppercase magazine.
But where's your go-to inspiration place?
Well, I don't think inspiration is a place, and I don't think it's not something you can just go out and acquire. I think it's like a way of thinking. So I have trained myself to be inspired. And so what that means is that I'm always looking and I'm always making connections between things. And so I'm like cataloging it in my head, but then also I do have like some digital tools where I'll put in links and examples and stuff like when it's becoming like more, a future theme for the magazine. But just in day-to-day life and conversation and looking at other books and just going out, I'm just thinking and looking and experiencing, and that's how it comes about. And so that's inspiring because you can always do those things. Like I'm not I don't ever have to fear about having like inspiration block or something.
Right.
Or writer's block, because I know that I have built up these skills over now like 17 years of how to think in ways that will come up with something inspiring.
I love that.
How to think and how to see as well.
Patrick and I talk about this often.
Yeah. It's like, just seeing that texture in the rose that is yellow and not just seeing the yellow rose, seeing the textures of the petal and how it's constructed and all of that kind of stuff, which I think that if you don't have the background, a lot of people would just see it for what it is, as opposed to, I don't even know how to say it, what it actually is and what it could be.
Yeah.
That's like not exactly right, but
and I think you observe the rose, and then maybe you're walking down the street and you see something else that's supposedly unrelated, but then the two things are in your head and you mix them together and suddenly you have a brand new idea.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's the serendipity, and that's inspiration.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that a great artist, teacher Robert Danzig taught me many years ago, and I just did it the other day, is the great found objects in parking lots. So I was at the grocery store, but I walk in only looking down in the parking lot and park far away. And I did yesterday, saw a fantastic bottle cap that had been squished with such a great graphic. It stopped me to look and experience the whole thing and think about it. So I love parking lot inspiration.
Squish I prefer to walk somewhere if I can. I like to walk because I'm gonna find something along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was so inspired by I don't know if you know the artist Candy Jernigan. She was married to Philip Glass for a while,
Oh,
and she did these amazing found objects. And one was, I believe it's called Evidence. And she walked around her block and she found different pieces of what she was calling evidence and cataloging, the longitude and the latitude and the day and everything about what was around that particular piece. And at the end, she had this amazing, book. And just to have it all presented in such a way where it would regularly just be looked like as trash. And again, it comes back to that, developing your eye and seeing certain things in a certain way and connecting, making those connections. So,
well, you
yeah.
certainly show artists in the magazine lots of times who have done that, which is always fun. It's just always seeing someone's eye and how it worked in a new way and appreciating it. That makes my brain very happy. It's a good dopamine rush looking through the magazine.
Yeah, it is.
I have to say, I was on your site, and one of the things I thought was absolutely brilliant, and it kept me, I was riveted, and I wanted more. And there's a part of the site, and Alice, I don't know if you've seen it, but she opens up and does the preview of the magazine, and there's no, fancy things going through. It's just her and just the magazine flipping page by page, page by page. And I was like, wait, don't wait, stay longer on that page, But and then so I ended up watching, some of them. I was like, this is really, really great,
Thank you. That's just me doing that.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for many years now. That's basically how I sell magazines on the internet, is because, as Allison mentioned, we love going to magazine shops and picking things up and stuff. But Uppercase it's not readily available in newsstands, especially in the United States. Like there are Pacific Northwest, I do have a distributor there, and so you might find it. But generally, no, you're not going to go to a newsstand and find Uppercase. So having that video is just me pacing through and showing each of the pages, and there's 132 pages, so it typically takes like 2 to 3 minutes to slowly go through it. And I just put that video.
Every minute of it. I like it. Every minute I'm in there.
Yeah, and you can hear the paper. Sometimes you can hear the sirens. Sometimes you can hear birds. Sometimes you can hear my dog's little paws going on.
The one-handed page turn is really good too. I like the one-handed one.
Yeah. So that's how I sell the magazines, and for all my books in my encyclopedia series are all like that too. And those books, some of them are 500 pages, so it takes quite a long time to flip through them. But I show every single page of anything that I've published, so no one can complain later saying I didn't know what was in it, because you literally can see everything in there before you purchase it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you see in the future? I mean, I really think of magazines coming back. Okay, here's why I think this. Because I've been in the craft world, and one of the phenomenons that's happened recently because of TikTok and social media is young women doing needlepoint. They sell out. They can't keep the material in, and they're opening up new stores all over the place. Needlepoint. And it's like this rediscovered art. And I see that happening in a few things, that all of a sudden something coming back like that. That's why I think that a little bit about magazines, because there was something about going to a Barnes and Noble or your local bookstore with that huge display and spending time touching, feeling, looking, getting. And I just think we need it again now. And I'm involved digital all the way, but I think we need that interaction with what we hold in the way that magazines, needlepoint, crafting, I think it's become really important to people. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I think it's always been important to people.
Yeah.
Some people. And I think some folks now who have been, I think we're all feeling this, like we're too much in a digital realm. And even people like you who are making things with their hands, right? And have craft and art practices where you're actually making physical things. In order to support that, we still have to be on our devices. We have to do all of these things, right?
Well, look at us right now.
Yeah, but this is good though, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Then it's going to require the work of putting this together and putting on the website. And there's like everything has this digital component and it gets exhausting. So, just sitting down with a needlepoint and just doing like cross stitch or punch needle was very popular a couple years ago, like that, just one repetitive motion, and you can do all sorts of things. I think that the appeal there is because it's a time out from the digital. It's an activity that's kind of easy on the brain. Like it's repetitive, it's soothing. There's the tactile element of it, and there's the visual of it, and even the sound, right, of pulling the thread through
the color,
the canvas.
I mean,
yeah. So I think it's a way of relaxing, and I think magazines and books are also in that category of a way of hands-on relaxing and just tuning out the rest of the world for a bit.
I mean, that's why I think it's just becoming more popular. People will buy more magazines because of all of what you just said, and to get away from the digital for a while. And clearly, because I see it happening with the 20-year-old set, they're looking for it.
Yeah. And what I like about, I'll toot my horn here, but like what I like about Uppercase magazine is because it's no ads. It's like a contained world of this Uppercase curated world, and there are themes for each issue. And sometimes they're fairly obvious themes, sometimes they're more subtle, but there's like I've put it together in a way that it's supposed to be an experience. There's continuity through the whole thing. There are themes, whether you notice them or not. There's reasons why everything is in there. If you go through it, you'll find connections between something over here and something later in the magazine. And there's little serendipity in there. And so it's supposed to be like it's an experience unto itself. And so that's also like a craft in a way, like the craft of reading and paying attention to what you're reading.
And it is, and you can't even take it all in. I can't in one sitting because there's that much information, color, inspiration, which I love. It's not like,
you hit on something there. It's like now we have the access to so much information at our fingertips, and it's just like flowing at us, even if we don't want it. And slowing down and doing something like needlepoint, you can't rush that. You can't just go to the internet and have it do your needlepoint for you. You can't open up a magazine and go through that experience and experience the timing of how the articles are laid out and how the photographs are laid out. You really can't get a lot of that through the digital world. I mean, some of it, but it's all immediate. And slowing down and actually doing a craft is just something that you just really can't have your AI do yet, I suppose.
Well, I think we still get, I always put it into a dopamine rush. Reading the magazine's a dopamine rush. Doing something with your hands, that still does a feel-good energy thing. Nothing against everything digital. It's just we need to have the other as well to balance it out, I think. Or I know I do, for sure.
I hope magazines all come back. I just love them, and yours is really fantastic.
Oh my God.
It's just visual treat every time. It's like,
it is. It's crazy. Well, tell everyone to finish. What is the easiest way to subscribe? What's the information you would give to people?
Oh, just my website, uppercasemagazine.com.
Okay.
And it's right there, and you can subscribe to my newsletter, which I send out every Tuesday. And
I just did.
Thank you. That's how I keep in touch with my readers. And there's some new open calls for submission. So that's also on my website. And that's it's a key component to every issue of Uppercase is highlighting readers and their work. So there's open calls about the particular themes, and there's usually 2 open calls per issue, and submissions are open. It's, it's free to submit your work. And
that's a good thing for everyone to hear.
Yeah, I love getting submissions because I'll kind of put in the creative brief of what the theme is, and I'll have a general idea of what I think that might be, and then I get stuff that's just like, oh, I never thought of that, and that's where the kind of the fun of being a publisher editor, designer, curator is seeing what the readers themselves
absolutely.
are creating and then putting them back into the print magazine. And it's like a really pleasant feedback loop between the two of us.
And that's where we love the digital world, that we can send our work out so easily that way.
For sure.
That's
yeah.
true.
Like
That's true.
none of my business would be possible without the internet.
Yeah.
But
the end result we love is that on too.
Paper.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah.
I know that
lovely.
Yeah. It's just, I'm excited because I will be looking at your magazine shortly with my cup of tea over on the couch, and we'll have enjoyed this conversation over again. So thank you very much. It was lovely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's chat. You can follow us and subscribe at Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And please take a look at all our amazing video tutorials at craftcast.com.